The chance we have to get together, I don't know if there's something or not we have that'll help you, but I'll go through the areas that we work in, areas such as increasing cash flow, decreasing debt, and reducing taxes. We also specialize in life insurance and annuities and how they can possibly shave years off your potential retirement date. After that, if there's an interest on your part, I'll gather some information and we'll get back together at another point and go through some specifics. There's nothing to buy today, so just sit back and relax. Federal Financial Group is a national company representing several insurance companies and other financial institutions with billions of dollars of assets, some of which have been in business over 100 years. What we do is teach people about money, how it works, and how to make it work better for you. Specifically, our goal is one thing: to help people become financially independent. What that means is that the interest you're earning on the money you've got put away replaces what you normally would earn from a business or a salary. At that point, you don't have to work anymore. You may choose to, but you don't have to. That's financial independence. Now, wouldn't you like to know how to get there soonest? That's where I'm headed. What I want to do is touch on some of the issues and challenges that face us today, and then I'll talk about the solutions. First off, look at the last 10 years. Incomes have risen, yes, but living expenses keep going up and up. For many Americans, there's no real way that incomes have kept up with housing or a lot of things. So what happens is that people tend to get into debt, and lack of security steps in, and poor saving habits ensue, and that creates some real problems. Now, this is my point. Out of 100 people turning 65 today, only 4 are financially secure, with incomes of $35,000 or more. That's only 4. The other 96 are not. Now, what is their situation? Well, many rely on family, many rely on charity, and this is perhaps the majority of them. They're still working. For example, look at all the seniors working at Walmart. Now, here are the solutions. What we do is we work in key areas involving 7 steps to help you build on your financial future. We weave these steps together to help people increase cash flow, get out of debt, reduce taxes, and retire as soon as possible, if desired. The goal here is to obtain financial independence much quicker. So what I'm going to do is rip through these real quick, and stop me if you have a question. But keep in mind the specific areas that you have the biggest need in, or the biggest priority, and then we can develop a strategy later on. Step 1, inspect what you expect. In order to have more money later on for your future goals and dreams, you need to know where you are spending your money now. Part of understanding how money works and how to make it work better for you is knowing where your money goes. We will introduce to you a tool where you can track your earnings, excuse me,
Here we go.
and expenditures so that you can inspect what you expect. The goal here is to free up extra money you didn't know you had. This extra cash could be used to pay off debt or applied toward future dreams, or possibly shave years off your retirement date. Step 2 is increasing your cash flow. Now, Mr. Smith, how would you define cash flow? Well, that's great. That's a good definition. Let's also define cash flow as this. Monthly cash flow is what is left over at the end of each month after all the money comes in and the expenses and bills go out. We work with firms that specialize in improving your cash flow by reducing the cost of servicing your debts. For example, let me ask you another question. At the end of the year, are you getting a tax refund, or do you owe taxes? That's interesting that you say that because a recent client of ours said that he usually got about $2,500 to $3,000 back each year, and we said, so you're telling me is that you're paying the government to keep your money for a little over a year and then allowing them to give it back to you at 0% interest? And he said, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it? And you know what? It doesn't. There are ways to take money as it is being earned and put it back into your budget to earn more money for you instead of the government. What we want to do here is to help people eliminate debt. And we use two plans to help people eliminate debt. Plan A, the debt eliminator. Now here's an actual client, and you see they have a 30-year mortgage for $144,000 with an auto loan for $39,000 and a credit card with $10,000 and a Sears card for $1,200. If they paid everything according to their current plan, they will be out of debt in 26.8 years. But by following the debt eliminator plan, they will be out of debt in 13.1 years. They have the same debt, and they make the same monthly payments, and there is no refinancing involved, but they're debt-free in 13.1 years, including their mortgage, if they continue to make the same payments. But now, pay it to themselves, and instead of just being out of debt in 26.8 years, they will be out of debt and possibly have up to $500,000 in savings for retirement. Now, in a few minutes, if you would like, I'll be happy to gather some information, and when we get back together, I'll bring you back your own personalized debt eliminator plan, specifically designed for you. Now, Mr. Smith, if we can help you get out of debt years sooner than you otherwise would have been, without changing your monthly payments, would that interest you? If necessary, Plan B involves your mortgage. Do you have a mortgage? How much do you owe? What is your home worth? What is your interest rate? What is your payment? Does that include your taxes and insurance? What is your FICO score? Here's Plan B. Here is the debt structure of a typical family. As you can see, there's a first mortgage and also a second mortgage, car loans, credit cards, all totally $206,000. How long might it take this family to become debt-free? What they chose to do here is a debt consolidation loan. This allowed them to free up some additional cash to build up their emergency fund and pay down debt sooner. In their situation, it allowed them to increase their tax deductions on the interest they're paying, and as you can see, their new monthly payment is $1,192. Their old monthly payment was $1,937, and so that represents a monthly saving of $745, or annually, that's $8,940 in annual savings. The question for them was, do we do a 15-year or a 30-year mortgage? Let's look at the time and the value of money. If they did a 15-year mortgage, their payment is $1,716 a month for 15 years. Then once out of debt, if they would put that same $1,716 away each month into savings, they could possibly have $593,801 by the end of the next 15 years. On the other hand, if they did a 30-year mortgage, their monthly payment is $1,192. That's a difference of $524 less than the 15-year plan. And if they put that into savings in 30 years, they would possibly have $780,948. Now that's a difference of $187,000 more. Wow. Of course, that's assuming an 8% interest rate on growth. Basically, in step 3, we help people get the tools where they can manage their debt to eliminate it sooner and not have their debt manage them. Now, step 4 is a biggie as well, creating an emergency fund. What I find is that people don't have one. So if an emergency comes up, out comes the credit card plastic. That's $1,800 new for a new transmission for the car. 3 to 4 years becomes a $3,000 to $4,000 transmission. See what's hurting people? A sound emergency fund has 4 factors. It's got to be safe, liquid. Number 3, get a rate of return better than a checking account. And 4, it's got to be separate and systematic. Now here's the point. Have you ever tried to build an emergency fund in a checking account? Never happens. It's a free game. It'll get spent. Here's the point. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So what we encourage is a separate account, such as a money market account, where you can have it drafted. Say $50 a month from your checking account right into your money market on the same day every month. So it's out of sight, out of mind, growing at a better rate of return. And when stuff happens, you've got the money. It not only keeps your credit balances at 0, but it also helps you from dipping into your retirement savings as well, avoiding that 10% tax penalty. And it's simple, it's powerful, and it works. And step 5 is utilizing life insurance to provide proper protection against loss of life, which leads to loss of income. You know, it's pretty devastating where mom and dad have 3 kids and then dad is suddenly gone. Something happens, it's devastating. And once dad is gone, so is his income. Have you seen that before? Now who's going to pay the house payment, food, and the light bill? That's what's devastating, right? Part of a good financial plan is proper insurance to replace income, and it also sets up an immediate estate. Here we do things a little different. We look at a person's financial need and bring back options that will save people money while increasing their cash flow, helping them get set up with the proper amount of life insurance. Step 6 is the biggest one. And if you'll listen to me, it could change the quality of your life. This is the one everyone likes the best. Step 6 is building a long-term income or long-term savings. Now there are 2 elements at play here. 2 financial battles you have to win the money game, because if you don't incorporate these, and now I can be strong with you, the chances of you being financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. So here are the 2 battles you have to win. The inflation battle, and you'll see why in a minute, and the tax battle, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Taxes will hurt you if you're not careful. Now let's talk about inflation. Have you heard of the rule of 72? Let me explain it. It's really interesting. Whatever interest rate you're saving at, let's say 4%, divide the factor, which is 4, into the number 72, and that will tell you how many years it will take for your money to double. So 4 into 72 is 18. Every 18 years, your money will double. 72 divided by 4 is 18 years. Now here's the example. Let's say you have $100 in an account that earns 4%. You leave it, and it grows at 4%. In 18 years, it'll double to $200. What happens in another 18 years at 4%, right? It doubles again to $400. And here's the problem. 36 years from now, Will $400 buy what $100 does now? Inflation has averaged 3% from 1926 to 2007. That's inflation. Banks, credit cards, unions, and fixed accounts, and so forth, where they're probably not even getting 4%. You can see what's happening. Money is growing, but inflation is growing much quicker. They're losing purchasing power, and they may never retire. Big, big problems. The solution is to keep them, to help them obtain a potentially better interest rate. Say a person could get 6 to 12%. Look at this example. On flip, let's assume that you're 29 years old and you have $100,000 at 4%. Remember, the factor 4 divides into 72. The factor 4 divided into 72 is 18, and so that $10,000 doubles twice in 36 years to $40,000. But you're now 65 and the kids are gone and the house is paid for and you want to retire, but you've got only $40,000 to your name. How long is that going to last you? The way you spend, probably half that time. Just kidding. Maybe a year, maybe longer, but if you're really frugal and then you get out of money, so you're a greeter at Walmart. But here's the problem. We've run out of time. Who wants to work past 65? The only thing we could have changed is the interest rate. And here's the million-dollar question. If you could have 6 to 12% instead of 4%, would you now have a greater financial independence? The answer is obviously yes. Now look at this. At 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. At 8%, it doubles every 9 years. And at 12%, it doubles every 6 years. So in 36, you're age 65, and you've got $640,000. Isn't that amazing? The only difference between this guy and that guy is the interest rate, not more money or more time. Same age, same amount of money, and the only difference is the interest rate. But it cost this guy $600,000. Now, Mr. Smith, wouldn't that be a change in the quality of your life? And you know what? It's not about having $10,000. The key is saving a little bit on a monthly basis at a decent interest rate. And if you will save, for you, a decent interest rate, there may be a time where you will not be out earning your money, but your money will be out earning you. Pretty awesome, isn't it? So the million-dollar question is, where can I get a decent rate of return and still have protection of principal where you're actually guaranteed not to lose money? Actually, there are 3 different strategies, and I'm going to give you a synopsis of each one and tell you which one makes the most sense for you so that I know which is suitable for you when we get back together. First, in the fixed rate approach, you get a guaranteed fixed rate, but it's a low rate, probably 2 to 3%, maybe less, which may be risky because of inflation. The second approach is the other end of the spectrum, the stock market or mutual funds, where you have the potential for high returns, but with a greater risk of losing your money. And a lot of people have, because it's been pretty dicey lately, hasn't it? The third way is the index strategy, where the entire principal that you save is protected. All the interest is earned and is also protected, so you don't lose money. All interest earned is linked to what the Standard & Poor 500 stock index does, which for the past 25 years has averaged almost 10% a year. You know, that's a very popular strategy. Now let's talk a minute about it. You've heard of the Standard & Poor 500 index, right? The S&P 500 stock index is the 500 most widely held companies in the U.S., representing over 100 industry groups, such as technology, healthcare, utilities, and so forth. And capitalization, about 70% of the American economy. But get this, the S&P 500 has averaged almost 10% a year for the past 25 years. If you had invested in the S&P 500 25 years back, 25 years ago, and averaged 10% a year, you'd be happy, right? Now, when we get back together, if we have determined that an index strategy is suitable for you, then I'll explain the specific products, the costs, the floors and caps, and other terms and conditions. But for now, let me give you an overview of the index strategy and how the interest crediting works. All interest earned is linked to this S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, 12%, but without any downside risk associated with putting the money directly into the stock market. So you see, your money is protected from any market loss, and at the same time, you participate in the growth of the S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, 12%, with the protection from any downside market risk. And that should be pretty important, don't you think? Now here's an example. Let's say that a few years back you contributed $10,000 in the index strategy. And let's say the S&P 500 did 10% the first year. And now it has grown to 11,000. And let's say the second year it grew another 10%, and now you have 12,000. In the third year, the S&P loses 20. Absolutely. In fact, it happened. But now, instead of your account value dropping 20% to 9,600 in year 3, it remains at 12,100. So you can see why the indexed approach is quickly becoming one of the most popular, and you can see why. One of the best ways to win the rate of return in an inflation battle is to be able to get potentially higher growth, and yet protect your principal from any downside market loss. But Mr. Smith, you cannot just win the rate of return battle and forget about taxes. In fact, I'm going to show you an example that will shock you in how important it is to employ both the rate of return and the tax battle. Let's say 30 years ago, there was a guy that was 30 years of age and he wanted to have $1 million when he was 60. Now, he didn't understand any of this, so he just goes into the bank and says, "Mr. Banker, what do I need to save every month for 30 years so that I can have $1 million? Back then, CD rates were about 5%. Now they're about 2 or 3. But then they were at 5. Well, the banker figured it out and said, what you need to do is put away exactly $1,639.29 a month for 30 years at 5%, and you'll get your $1 million. Well, he was totally discouraged, and he left the bank and never saved a dime, and now he's a greeter at Walmart. Now, what if we could have taught him how to win these two battles, the rate of return battle and the tax battle? Look at how it drops that number. It's almost unbelievable. Let's win one at a time. Start with the rate of return. Let's say that he could have averaged 10% instead of 5%. It takes the number clear down to $900 a month. However, Mr. Smith, can most people save $900 a month? Probably not. However, that's $700 less than that guy. And that's a significant amount, right? Now, what if we help him put his money away where he can't be taxed on it while it grows? So with a tax deferral, what does he have to put away? Look at that, $438 a month. Now, Mr. Smith, do you know people that can put away $438 a month? Yes, a lot of people. Maybe you can do that. Hey, you're blowing that much, right? And see, to a lot of people, that's not a big deal. See, it's not so much putting away a ton. It's about putting it away so what you can, and at a decent interest rate, reducing taxes and avoiding loss of principal. In fact, in step 6, when we are done, a person knows how and when they potentially will be able to be financially independent. And if we do it right, we can literally shave years off that retirement date. It's really neat. Mr. Smith, let me ask you this. If you were financially independent right now, and you have enough in your nest egg every month, and you had enough that you didn't have to go to work anymore, what would you and your wife be doing? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What would you be doing? Well, that's great. Now think about it. If you were financially independent, you have options. And that's the point. You can do what you want, when you want, how you want. In fact, it was interesting the other day, we went through the implementation phase with a client, and that's our number 2 visit. And the wife was so excited, she gets up and says, you know what, I could go to the door and ask my neighbors when they're going to be financially independent. Nobody would know, but I do. You know what? At that time, she and her husband became financially independent in mind and heart because they knew what their dreams were and when it was going to happen. So it's exciting, and that's step 6. The last step is estate planning. A lot of times using a trust, so upon death you can leave a legacy instead of headaches and possible tax burdens for your survivors. How a trust helps you avoid probate and protect against liabilities. Also, the importance of having a will, a living will, power of attorney, that type of thing. Do you remember a while back the story about Terry Schiavo, a lady who became incapacitated and had the whole world arguing about what should happen to her? Imagine how different it would have been for her and her family if she had only had a simple living will. Are you concerned about who will make medical, legal, and financial decisions for you if you're unable to? Or perhaps who will receive your assets when you pass away? Are you interested in updating or creating a will or trust? Let me ask you, do you already have an attorney or other advisor that you work with on estate planning issues? No? Well, we recommend that you engage an attorney who specializes in estate planning. You also have the alternative to use a company that isn't a law firm but prepares the documentation for simple estate plans. And I can give you some companies that prepare simple estate plan documents for you if you're interested. Great, that's great. So now, let's start step 7. These are the 7 steps. Kind of neat, aren't they? Let me ask you, Mr. Smith, a very important question. Of these 7 steps, if you had to narrow it down to 2 that are the biggest priority in your life between increasing cash flow, eliminating debt, developing an emergency fund, life insurance protection, building long-term financial independence, tax planning and estate planning, which is critical? And if you could only pick 2, which would they be? Good choices. Let me tell you what we do. We do what is called a financial needs analysis, so that we can make sure the products we offer are suitable for you. Where in a second I'll ask you a few questions to help determine what your needs are and what your goals and dreams are. And then I'll take this back to the office where we have a very sophisticated software program where we'll input your information and it will help us develop a plan of attack specific around your needs and help you to become one thing, financially independent the soonest. So it's awesome. Now let me tell you the cost of this. When I come back, what I will expect is hot chocolate, chip cookies, fresh out of the oven, which you personally baked in a tall cup of milk. I'm just kidding. You're getting too serious, and I had to throw that out. Now let me explain how we really get paid so you know. The companies that you choose to link up with and help you with your specific goals pay us a referral fee or a commission, so you won't be billed for the services rendered by us. So it's a win-win scenario. However, the information that I bring back to you will only be as accurate as the information that we put in. So work with me here because we're talking about your financial future, and if we do it right, we can potentially save years off your retirement date. Now, the three-part or four-part questions are yes or no answers, and I can't have maybes. This will help me with your short and midterm goals and where you're headed. In the next 2-3 years, do you plan on making a major purchase? Okay, then that simplifies the information gathering. And Mr. Smith, this is going to be awesome when we get back together in a day or two. Mr. Smith, we've got $389 a month that we can work with. Man, when we get back together again, you're going to have a crystal clear picture of how and when you can potentially be financially independent. Fulfill your dreams and goals, and you're going to love it. But you're going to need to listen. I'm going to spend some time on this because I know you're serious, and I'm going to be serious. All right? It's going to be awesome, Mr. Smith. And this is going to change the quality of your life, and you're going to owe me big. And now it's very important that we build upon what we've talked about today. So we need to set up a time within the next 24 hours. But if we have to go clear into next week, I'll have to recapitulate everything that we've just covered. So we need to get back together as soon as we can because we're talking about your life here. So with that in mind, what is your schedule like for tomorrow? I have either a 10 or a 3 o'clock in the afternoon open. Which would you prefer?